It is a Wednesday evening midweek encounter here at Memphis Metro Church. And I'm grateful for those of you that are jumping on and joining us tonight. Um, I do want to uh, encourage all of you to share the links and connect on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We are live on those platforms this evening. And I want to start off the broadcast by extending our prayers and condolences to the Floyd family here in Memphis, Tennessee. Um, we got the news this morning, early this morning, that um, a brother in the faith, a leader in this city, who was a supporter of our ministry. We've had opportunity to have many conversations, and he was a supporter of Memphis Metro Church. I want to honor his family tonight. The Apostle Ricky Floyd of Pursuit of God Transformation Center, just a tremendous influence in our city, and our hearts are broken in very real ways because he was such a servant and had such compassion and wanted the best for Memphis, Tennessee. Um, Part of the phenomenon is that um, he has served Memphis and so well respected and immensely and deeply rooted to this city. And so respected in all kinds of circles, political circles, um, and obviously the community of Christian believers, and found ways to help negotiate peace and transact significantly for the Fraser community. And so he was a blessing to us, and I didn't have the benefit of knowing him as long as Minister Renee has known him, and so many others have known him. But years ago, when he saw our television broadcast, he reached out to me and encouraged me and said that we were doing good work for the city. And those words stayed connected to me. And so to his wife, Pastor Sheila Floyd, their three children, his grandchildren, we are praying for you all. We are praying for the entire Pursuit of God Transformation Center, that movement. And we're going to press our way forward tonight. But Pastor Floyd, your work is remembered, it is celebrated, and it will be continued. Your legacy will be continued. So rest well, servant. You are you're a son of Memphis, and we thank God that you are a son of God. And this evening, you are in the everlasting arms of God's care. So we're praying for the Floyd family, to God Transformation Center, the entire city. We're praying for Memphis tonight. Amen. Um, so we've been negotiating a subject matter with regard to the series entitled Child Support, and my hope is that we're closing out the series tonight, and we're transitioning to a new series that will start on Sunday's Sunday series. series, the Sunday series that will start will be entitled Substance Abuse. Substance abuse. And so you'll want to hear this message. I do think it's going to be provocative and raise the awareness of the the depth of your faith, the awareness with regard to how you treat the depth of your faith. Can you go deeper in faith? I do believe we will be sharing things that help you to drill down deeper and connect to roots of your faith, roots of what you truly believe and who you are called to be and to become. So we've talked about in this series, and I'll reiterate that it does not yet appear. So it's now are we the sons of God. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So we'll be sharing on that. We'll be starting a new series on Sunday, Substance Abuse. You don't want to miss it. We'll be together. So join us at 11:22 a.m. on Sunday on these platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And so we've got people that are jumping on and joining us. We realize that it's spring break here in the Memphis area this week. But I just want to close out the series by sharing some thoughts and ideas with you with regard to where we left off on Sunday. Sunday, we've gone through multiple aspects of what constitutes child support in this realm, in the earth's realm, and particularly in the American judicial system. Generally, that's going to be about a petition being filed. It's about establishing paternity. And then it's also about custody. It's about addressing custody. These three issues, petition, establishing paternity, and addressing custody. When you have a child, generally these three things, when the court is put in the mix in terms of creating negotiation, creating outcomes, considered a third party to help bring about some amicable resolution and resolve to where the relationship looks. Generally, they're going to address these three things: petition, establishing paternity, and addressing custody. And so in each week, we have, in some way or another, addressed these ideas: petition, establish paternity, and addressing custody. And so I did want to leave off with the petition piece, because we find David in Psalm 61, and it's a place of authenticity and a place of vulnerability. Authenticity and vulnerability. If somebody could put that in the chat for me, that would help. Authenticity and vulnerability. We see David in this particular place. Part of the frustration here that we pick up from David is that he's been anointed to be king, but the manifestation of that has yet to manifest. It's a manifestation of that it doesn't show up yet. And here David is dealing with enemies, dealing with an administration that does not celebrate him. Here he is running for his life, trying to figure out how to get from the declaration of him being king to the manifestation of him being king. And so many of us struggle in these spaces, right? That God has declared a thing, but we have yet to see the realization of that thing. And our frustration, I'm going to tell us this, as part of the human condition, it is warranted. It's part of what it means to be human. And much of what we face when God declares a thing is the opposition that the enemy puts in front of us is designed to make you feel like you are fatherless. It's designed to make you feel like you're fatherless. So David says, he says, hear my cry, O God, attend unto my prayer. David entreats and engages God. He implores him as a father. And he says, I need you to hear me. Hear me, and not just hear me, pay attention to what it is I'm saying. Attend to my prayer. This is David's petition. This is David's request. This is David's supplication. This is David's his earnest plea. He is crying out to God, and he says, "Attend to my prayer." Verse 2 says, "From the end of the earth will I cry unto thee when my heart is overwhelmed." Come on now. We get this news today about this tremendous man of God who served this city. And there are people who have been mentored by him, served alongside him, and found such confidence in his leadership. And now, tonight, they can cry out that their hearts are overwhelmed. That is a real thing. That is a real thing, right? So when you are experiencing this flood of emotions that tell you that you don't know if it's worth it. That's what David is feeling like. Like I don't know if what I'm going through is worth what he called me to. Let's say that again. I don't know if what I'm going through is worth what he called me to. Can somebody capture that tonight? I don't know. This is the idea of overwhelmed, right? I don't know if what I am going through is worth what he called me to. And so the distance between you and where he called you to, right? You got to make a decision about what that's going to look like. And not only what is that going to look like, but what is that going to be like? And so some of the dynamic is that we do have to give room for our expression of emotion and still give God permission to be God, right? Right. Give him room to be God. Give him access to be God. And so that's why I share with us that God is God enough to handle your emotions. He's God enough to handle your anger. He's God enough to handle your grief. He's God enough to handle your frustration. He's God enough. He's God enough. And so sometimes it is a real place when you don't know whether or not what you are going through is worth what God is calling you to. And so David says, when my heart is overwhelmed, when I don't know whether or not being king is worth all this. Come on. Yeah, there are people here tonight that are watching this and that are watching the replay and are fed up with the frustration that comes along with the calling. They are fed up with the frustration that comes along with the calling. And part of the idea is that you feel unsupported. You feel unsupported. And the audacious nature of this series is here to tell you that God is a father who extends child support. David says, man, I don't feel like I'm getting through this the right way. I don't feel like I'm getting through this the right way. I am overwhelmed. Like David is saying, I am taking on, seemingly, I am taking on more than I can handle. Overwhelmed. I can't handle any more bad news. I can't handle another bad decision. I can't handle. I can't handle another bad financial situation. I can't handle. Like no, I don't call me for anything else. When my heart is overwhelmed, when I'm in over my head, when I've got too much going on, and so Mr. Renee says that the news that we received today about this beloved brother in the faith, apostolic voice in the city, a gatekeeper from Memphis, right? She says the news today was overwhelming. And if it's that for us who knew him, tangentially, not in close proximity, but from a distance, and cordial colleagues in the city, if it overwhelms us, think about what it does to his family. Think about what it does to his church. Think about what it does to all the people that were serving alongside him. And so overwhelm can be a real thing. And David says, when my heart is overwhelmed, he sets it up for there to be a built-in remedy. Come on. Yeah. David sets it up. His language sets it up for there to be a built-in remedy to address when his heart becomes overwhelmed. This is the lesson that we need to learn here, part of child support, that we need to build in the remedy, build in the solution, build in the problem solving, build it in. It needs to be built into you, built into your DNA. Why? Because you have the DNA of God when you are his child. And so David says, I know the answer to this. As overwhelming as all of this is, as frustrating as all of this is, as heartbreaking as all of this is, as angry as this makes me, as isolated as I feel, build in a solution. For every temptation, he has made a way of escape. That's what Corinthians, the letter that Paul writes, reminds us of. So David says, I've got a built-in solution. When my heart is overwhelmed, change my location. He says, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Move me from overwhelmed to safe in your care, safe in your arms. Just get me closer to you. That's what David is saying. Get me closer to you. And the truth of the matter is, when we hear news like we heard today, this ought to get us closer to God. Change our location. Move us forward in His grace. Move us forward in His mercy. Move us forward. Help us to find the security that we need in a world that is topsy-turvy, in a world that is unpredictable, in a world that shows disregard for the sanctity of life sometimes. God, when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. First of all, shift my perspective in order for me to shift my location. Shift my thinking in order for me to shift my outcomes. Shift my thinking in order for me to change my situation. Lead me to the rock that's higher than I. And the next verse says, verse 3, for thou hast been a shelter for me. Whew. You've been a protector, God. The simplest prayer that I pray, and I generally pray it on a daily basis. I said, Jesus, be a fence. Be a fence. Be a protector. Be a shield around me. Just cover me with your protection and cover me with your wings. And so David says, I know what you have been. Like you've done it before. I emphasized this on Sunday. I need to emphasize it one more time. The reason I'm asking you to do it is because you've done it. The reason I'm asking you to do it is because you've done it before. We got history here. The reason I'm asking you to do it is because you've done it. And the reason I'm asking is because you're able. I'm asking because he's able. I'm asking because he's able. Yeah, I'm asking you to avail yourself because you're able. I'm asking because you're able. You're able to do it. You have been a shelter for me and a strong tower from the enemy. That's what Psalm 61 says. David rehearses the sound of his deliverance. He rehearses the sound of his deliverance. And so some of us just need to make the declaration that where we are is not where we're going to end up. Come on. We need to make the declaration that where we are is not where we're going to end up. But the situation that we're in does not define where we're going. That better is coming. Better is on the way. Better is ahead. Better is within me. Better is coming. That's right. It won't last always. Trouble. That's how the old church used to say it. I'm so glad that trouble, it won't last always. There's an end coming to the trouble. And so David says, since you've been a shield to me, since you've been a shelter for me and a strong tower, David is making the mental shift in order for there to be a geographical shift. Come on. He's changing his mind and changing his speech in order to put it in the atmosphere to feel the support of God. God is going to respond to what you say about him. God's going to respond. He's waiting for you to get your language together. He's waiting for the shift to happen after being overwhelmed, after being depressed, after being sick, after being broke, after being poor, after he's waiting for the shift to come through your mouth. And he wants you to realize where you have been is not anything that he hasn't seen before. Where you have been is not anything that God has not seen before. And you know what that means, right? He's not afraid of it. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of your situation. You might be overwhelmed. Come on. You might be overwhelmed, but he is not. You might be intimidated, but he is not. You might be frustrated and depressed, but he is not. You might be broke, but he's not. You might be trenched deeply into poverty, but he is not. He's a fence, and he knows how to protect you from the snare and the trap of the enemy. God is not overwhelmed. Yes, sir. I make the declaration over your life and in your situation, even if you're feeling it, God is not overwhelmed. Mm-mm. No, he knows what he's doing. So part of the construct of child support is what he told Jeremiah. Since you're my child, I know the plans that I have for you. I've drawn up the blueprints. I've drawn up the plans. I know what expansion looks like coming to your life. I know what resource and abundance and surplus looks like when it's coming to your life. I'm the one that drew up the plans. I know the plans that I have towards you. I know the plans. Like, I don't know. I just don't know you. I know the plans. I'm not just familiar with you. I'm familiar with the plans. And so God has been at work constructing the plan. When Jesus was getting ready to go away, he told the disciples, I go to prepare a place for you. I know the plans that I have for you. He says, don't let your heart be troubled. Don't let it be afraid. Since you believe in God, believe also in me. I know the plans that I have for you. And so David has to rehearse history to see victory. Come on here. David has to rehearse history, that's looking back, in order to see victory, which lies ahead. Are y'all hear what I'm saying tonight? And so since God is not overwhelmed, I'm going to just give you a psychological lesson here. Here's what child psychologists will tell us, that parents send the cues to their children on how to react or respond. Children look to parents to define how they should react and respond to situations. And so I've got a real big idea here for you. Take your cues from your Heavenly Father. Take your cues from him. If he's not overwhelmed, come on. You don't have to be either. We will feel some of the experience of the emotional realm, but I'm here to tell you, if you start feeling overwhelmed, you don't have to stay overwhelmed. You know why? Because God is not overwhelmed. I'm taking my cues from my Father. So, you know, little kids, they're they're like they're like empty canvases, right? Right? They're waiting to construct the palette and the art of their life, but they get their initial cues from parents. And so, if that parent is walking around cussing, and then that eight month old, or that 10-month old, that 2-year old, that 5-year old, if they hear that, they start to what? Imitate that behavior. And so one of the biggest compliments that I get is that I'm like my father. Yeah, that's one of the biggest compliments that I get. They say I look like him, but not only do I look like him, in some of my ways I am like him. Yeah, and the older I get, the more I see it. Yeah, that's it. Taking cues from pops. And so, since he's not overwhelmed, neither do we have to be. If we imitate the Father. And so, David rehearses history in order to project victory. Somebody put that in the chat for me. That David rehearses history. He says, "You have been." That's what you've done in the past. You've been a shelter for me. You've been a shield for me. You've been a fence around me. And a strong tower from the enemy. Don't be afraid to rehearse your history in order to project your victory. Your victory is coming. Your victory is ahead. You got to see things for what they are. You got to know that he's been a shelter and a shield for me. Verse 4 closes it out and says, since I'm making this shift, since I'm shifting attitude, shifting perspective, shifting language, he says, I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the cover of your wings. And so we get this parenthetical notation that says Selah. It's not to be read necessarily. It's just like it's instructions. That's what it is, right? And so when you see the word Selah, what it means is to meditate on what's just been said and repeat. Meditate on what's been said and repeat. And so I need you to gather yourself tonight and recognize that God has every intent on drawing you close. Your feeling of overwhelm could be that he wants to draw you close to him, to eradicate you of those feelings. We can sometimes experience the fear, the angst, the frustration, the depression when we come in contact with an intersection of something that is tragic, something that is devastating, and quite frankly, something that does not feel like it's worth it. But I am here to tell you, when we feel that way, it's an opportunity for God to draw us close, for Him to draw us close and make us stronger for where we're going, to draw us close and build us up, to draw us close and give us better perspective, to draw us close, make us wiser, draw us close, and to help somebody else in their process. And so tonight, as we've heard these things, I want to revisit these 4 closing points that I think we all can intentionally do in order to get the highest form of support from God. And so, highest form of support, first one says, recognize my sound. You got to make some sound in order for God to hear your sound. Silence will not get you the support you need. Right? David cried out to him. When you're engaged in God, you got to make some noise. You got to, He wants to hear it. And like I said, He can handle it. He can handle what it is you're offering Him. But some of the idea is that you create the soundtrack to your experience. You use where you are to create the atmosphere for worship. And so all throughout Psalms, they tell you to make noise. You know what Psalm 100 says. Come on, make a joyful noise. And so be intentional about the soundtrack that comes out of you. Be intentional about the worship that you offer God in that vulnerable place, that authentic place of emotion. And then secondly, it says, highest form of support is when you feel seen, you feel supported. When you feel heard, you feel supported. And so the highest form of being seen, I said this on Sunday, is to signal God with your surrender. And sometimes our signal is a distress call. That's what David was doing. Like, I'm in trouble and I need you to hear me. I'm in trouble and I'm in a place and I need you to hear me. And so to be seen is to be sensitized. Signal God with your surrender. Come on, be more sensitive to what He is looking for, so He can see you clearly. Problem is, too many of us see our problems bigger than we see God. I'm going to give you a great principle here. Somebody put it in the chat for me. What you focus on expands. 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 So many of us overthink. But what you focus on, if you focus on your fear, it expands. It takes up more space in your life. If you focus on your bills, guess what? Your bills take up more space in your life. If you focus on your sickness, guess what? Your sickness is going to take up more space in your life. What you focus on expands. Psalm says, magnify the Lord with me. Make Him bigger. What you focus on expands. So to be seen, to be sought after, we need God to come get us, right? We need Him to come get us. Like He says, lead me to the rock that's higher than I, but in order for me to be led, I need you to come get me. Come find me because I'm lost. Whew. Truth of the matter is, this world will get you lost. It'll get you lost. It'll get you lost. This world will get you lost. Lost in your appetites, lost in your flesh, lost in your desires, lost in the language, lost in politics, lost in the quest for identity, lost. And we need God to come get us. But the ones that he'll come and get are the ones generally that are looking for him. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Last one here says, he'll grant security in the sanctuary. That's the highest form of support. He'll give you safety in his presence. He'll give you safety in his presence. I challenge you tonight to stay strengthened in these times of tumult, vulnerability. Remember that God has a plan for your life. He has every intent on giving you what you need to make it to your destination. He doesn't want you running out of the resources that you need to get to where he called you to be. I want to let you know that David eventually makes it to the throne. Come on. Yeah. You can make it to your throne. Yeah. You can make it to your throne. You keep pushing forward. I know there will be moments where you are under attack. There will be moments where you are afraid and paralyzed and don't want to move, but you can make it to your throne. Just keep pushing forward. Signal God with your surrender, and he'll come and get you. Signal God with your surrender, your sacrifice, and he will come and get you. We're going to start a new series on Sunday. And I am prayerful that what you have ascertained and discovered through this series has been useful and helpful to your life. God wants to identify you as his child. But in our willingness to be his children, we have to search for the Father. We have to come towards him. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by him. That relationship with his Son is what grants us security in the sanctuary. He is our safety and our sanctuary. Look, I want to thank you for joining us tonight, but before we get out of here, I want you to be encouraged tonight to give and to sow into the ministry. It's a wonderful platform for you to be able to see the hand of God bless your life. Tonight you can give on our digital platforms, Cash App, that's $ Memphis Metro Church, and you can also give at on the PayPal app. You go to our website and give, and it will take you to those links respectively. memphismetro.tv. It's been an honor, a privilege, and I'm grateful to be able to spend a little time with you tonight, and I want you to make it to your throne. I see the David in you. Beloved, now we the sons of God. It does not yet appear what we shall be, but when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. This has been, on a Wednesday night, Memphis Metro in Midweek Encounter. Midweek Encounter. Here we are in the middle of the week, pressing to the end. I'm praying for you that the hand of God will be upon you. Thank you so much for joining us. Fellowship, leadership, and worship. This is P-Man. with Memphis Metro Church. We'll see you Sunday morning at 11:22. We are